Welcome to the Unstoppable Recording Machine Podcast. And now your host, EYAL Levy.
Welcome to the URM Podcast. Thank you so much for being here. It's crazy to think that we are now on our 7th year. Don't ask me how that all just flew by, but it did. Man, time moves fast. And it's only because of you, the listeners. If you'd like us to stick around another 7 years, and there's a few simple things you can do that would really help us out. I would endlessly appreciate if you would, number 1, share our episodes with your friends. Number 2, post our episodes on your Facebook and Instagram and tag me at EYAL Levy URM Audio and at URM Academy, and of course, our guest. And number 3, leave us reviews and 5-star reviews wherever you can. We especially love iTunes reviews. Once again, thank you for all the years and years of loyalty. I just want you to know that we will never charge you for this podcast, and I will always work as hard as possible to improve the episodes in every single way. All we ask in return is a share, a post, and tag us. Oh, and one last thing. Do you have a question you would like me to answer on an episode? I don't mean for a guest. I mean for me. It can be about anything. Email it to me at eyal@urm.academy. That's EYAL@urm.academy. There's no .com on that. It's exactly the way I spelled it. And use the subject line, Answer Me EYAL. All right, let's get on with it. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the URM Podcast. My guests today are Sławek and Wojtek Wiesławski, a pair of brothers that run Hertz Studio out of Poland. Over a decades-long career, they've worked with some of the biggest names in metal, including Behemoth, Decapitated, Vader, and many more. I love their work, and I'm excited to have them on. Let's get this going. Sławek and Wojtek Wiesławski, welcome to the URM Podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation. Welcome, all of you.
Thanks for being here. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you. It's our pleasure.
Thank you for inviting us. Thank you very much.
Of course, I've been listening to your work since the early 2000s. It's a pleasure to get to talk to you. I'm just curious, being that you guys are in Poland, there's so many amazing Polish metal bands that we all know about here. Would you say that most of the work that comes into you guys is because of those metal bands, the ones that we know about here, the Behemoth, Decapitated, or is there a whole wider scene of bands from your area that we would have never heard of, but who make up the majority of your clients?
I think you just tell about really 2 big bands. And of course, they are the biggest. Like, we can include also Vader, yes?
Yeah, for sure.
I think in Poland, the metal scene is pretty big. It always was, I think, pretty big. I don't know how to explain. I think it's because of the country. It's, I say, like disco polo and metal music were very popular, like completely different, I don't know, the styles of the music. We have like another bands like Riverside, which is not exactly pure metal, yes, it's some kind of also progressive, yes, Raid band. You remember that the band Death Infection?
Yes, actually.
It's almost from our city. So I think we had even, and we still have more bands, yes, but they became bigger because of the hard work for years, because I think to become a big band, it's an unbelievable huge work.
It's close to it's almost impossible.
I don't know even how. Sometimes band ask us what to do to become a big band. So for sure I know that they need to play a lot. I mean, a lot of gigs. Right now they must have, like, of course, music. But the next thing is the whole approach to the gig, to the nice visualization. I don't know, all that stuff that is behind the music. Not only right now music makes the band big, like promotion, good marketing. I don't know how to explain.
With the music part of what goes into a successful band, what do you see as your part of it? Do you feel like you guys are trying to help the bands vision come to life, or do you help them find their vision?
First of all, they're very talented guys, the musician. So as for like bands, for example, Decapitated, I would say we help to reach kind of high level.
I think with Decapitated we help with the vision. I think. Because I think it's only with that band. I think Organic Hallucinosis, yes, Sławek, was that when they more popular in the world.
Yeah.
They give us like a free way on that album with the sound, the overall production.
They just mentioned they want to have like kick sounds like Pantera style, and they want to have like really tight guitars, and that's all what they want to. And we just kind of we talk before a lot, and we just happened, we did this.
Did you guys know that was a very new kind of sound when you were working on it? Because, man, I remember we toured with Decapitated in 2007, which is not that long after the record came out. And I remember thinking, this is like death metal Pantera. These sounds, I've never really heard them done together like this. And those records that they put out literally did sound like death metal Pantera. They didn't sound like anything else. And I definitely think that it changed the way that technical bands approached the way they sounded. Like, did you guys know that you were doing something different and special when you were working with them?
Yes, absolutely. I think there was a very unique sound when we released like a demo or a first.
We showed the first mixes.
The people were surprised and they were shocked, and most of them said they don't like it. This is something not sound like Polish metal, not Polish bands. So some of the people they really they blame about this. This is like something different. This is no new metal style without this.
That was too new. You know what I mean?
Too new.
Too fresh. It was like too shock for some of them, especially if the people but not for musicians. The musicians, they really want to go on that way. So very talented guys, those two brothers like Wojtek and Wojtek. They really knew what they want to sound like. They really tied the way how to supposed to be sound that particular album. Yes.
So it's almost like they had a vision for something, but they themselves didn't know how to record or mix, so they couldn't realize it. So your job was to take what you saw with them and translate it into sound.
The most, I think, important to catch the band is to listen them before the recording. Mm-hmm. How they play. For me, it's very important because for me, the biggest challenge is to capture the band, how they play, because we can like make the recording in two ways. We can make with the Slawek completely whole production and put something new, yes? Like, okay, this band on the stage, but this is after the album and it's completely new vision of that band. Yeah. With Decapitated, it wasn't like that. We just simply know that that was very good guitar player and the drummer.
Amazing.
Yes, and they were absolutely tight. They were brothers. They feel like each other. So we knew with Slawek that we need to put it on the record, and and that was the biggest challenge, to make it really tight and not typical. You know what I mean? Because right now it's, I think, very popular is like references. Yes. So yes. You talk with the band, okay, I want to sound like, and then you can hear the names, yes?
Yes.
But over here it was like, no listening like other bands, yes? To create something, they are very well, and still Vok is very good guitar player. So just put something new to their sound and make the album. I don't know how to explain it better.
You're explaining it great. Actually,
I think it's also this is great guys, great music, and we will be at that time the guys who is kind of lucky also to work with them.
Yeah, I mean, you have to have the right clients at the right time.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
and I think it's very important with the really good production to meet the right people. I mean, the right musicians. Right now, a lot of people forget about the overall recording process. So they simply do something in their home or wherever in the studio, but for me, the sound of the album, it's not mix and mastering, it's the whole recording process.
From the ground up.
Yes, you can't make the really outstanding guitar tone. For me, you can't do it on the reamping session, because if the musician is very good one, he can respond what he can hear exactly that time. So he changed position of his hand, the attack, the whole that stuff. And if the tone at the beginning is a very good one, I mean the right one, so you can push the musician, much more further.
I agree. When I first started reamping, I was very disappointed because I would get a great tone playing and recording myself or a musician, then I'd go to reamp thinking I could do better, but it wasn't better. It was always worse. And over the years, I've been able to get better at it. And sometimes, you get something to mix and the guitar tone is shit. You can save a terrible tone with reamping, but I have never in my life ever heard a reamp sound better than when you got it right with the guitar player actually playing the actual tone. It's just different when they can actually respond to what they're playing through.
Yes, exactly. And also, sometimes people trying to record at home or, and it's like in the living room, and they put the headphones, they focus on the sound, they choose the best sound, and they think they get right sound, and they're playing how they hear. So usually it's like a lot of more gain during the recording at home, of course. And the studio is a little bit less. So we focus, he's playing alone, but in the studio, like some sound engineer is next to, and he can like control what he's doing. Like controlling like tuning and everything, it's more precisely at the studio. But is like could be like surprise if the guy hits guitar and at home, with headphones for $20 and go to the studio and he's thinking he will be like after reamping he will reach the sound is
like
good,
Pantera.
like Pantera or Decapitated. I would say it's not true,
So I will say that there are some people I know who do the modern version of recording who have gotten very good at it. Buster Odeholm, for instance, Swedish guy. He's, he is basically the evolved version of a bedroom producer. And he would tell you that, like, all his techniques are those modern techniques, headphones, editing things together, and his stuff sounds amazing. There are a few people who I think do it that way and it sounds great, but I think overall you're absolutely right. And I think that overall musicians need a producer. I think that's the most important thing. They need a producer, that's what it is. And I know this being a guitar player, that it's very, very different when you're recording yourself versus when somebody else is recording you. Because when you're recording yourself, you're thinking about too many things. You're thinking about your headphones or the speakers. You're thinking about how the guitar feels. You're thinking about how it sounds through the speakers. You're thinking about pressing play, pressing stop. Was that take good? Was that take bad? Just so many different things. Whereas when you're working with a good producer, you have one job as a guitar player, and that job is to play as well as possible. You don't have to worry about anything else. You can be the best possible musician you can be, which allows the producer to really do their job. I think, to me, that's the best way to do it.
Also, it's like a really important thing in the studio. So let's say if the band comes to the studio and choose, for example, us to work with, so we ask them to bring all the guitars with to the studio, and we check all of them. We check We check like hands, even how's the musicians playing, the really strong, how's it called?
How strong he hit, yes.
Yes.
Picking, yes.
Yeah, how much of
who's got the
tune.
strongest picking hand?
Yes, and also we can like say, you know what? Please change this guitar and that riff, or don't use this one, or try to play it different. Put different guitar, or even we're not using your sound. Let's put different. By yourself, recording at home, it's really, really difficult. I would say it's like no way to go further because you're alone. You know what I mean?
Yes, I believe that the best work, for me, at least for me, maybe there's somebody out there who works best alone, but I feel like the best work I've ever done has been collaborative, has been when I have somebody else to work with, whether it's a producer or, in a band situation. I always wrote music better with a partner, with my company now. I could have started it by myself, but it's better because I have my business partners. Working with other people helps you go beyond your own limitations, and it helps you find new things. And there's just things you won't think of, like what you were talking about with having multiple guitars, right? First of all, you might not own multiple guitars. So sometimes studios have guitars you don't already own. But even if you do own multiple guitars, you might be so into the song itself and playing the part that you might not be thinking, okay, this part is kind of black metal-y and a lot of interesting tremolo. My Fender Strat might sound perfect for it. You might not think that, whereas the producer might realize we need to be using the Strat on this part. I'm just picking something random. It really, really takes having somebody whose job is to help you do your best, I think, to sometimes come up with the right path to take with your equipment and the best use of the equipment. I think alone, a lot of people won't think of these things.
Yes, but I think there is one more thing very important.
What's that?
Trust to that producer. I think a lot of musicians, sometimes they ask for a help, but they don't allow to help, they don't trust, You already said that you make the with collaboration, the nice stuff. And I think a lot of people forget that we are here to help the band. We are here to help them with the sound, with the everything. We are not against them. And we have the fresh airs. We didn't compose that riffs, so we are not like emotionally involved, you know what I mean? Because I start to play on the bass guitar again, like, I don't know, half year ago. And I go on the rehearsal with the guys, and I just figure out very fast that when I start to playing on my bass guitar, I don't think like I usually think with the music. Because I think, like you said before, how I play, if it fits, or how nice my groove is.
Yeah, you're in the mindset of a bass player.
Yes, but the trust for the sound engineer, producer is very important. And sometimes I think bands say that, okay, we trust you, yes, but when it comes to the end, they starting, to
thinking, too much maybe sometimes.
And, maybe they go 2 steps, back because they're afraid.
So the Wojtek said exactly perfect situation, because with this Organic Hallucinosis Decapitated album, there was they trust us 100%. With everything from the beginning to the end. I remember that situation when the guys bring his those drums. Do you remember, Wojtek? There was Amati drums that's made from.
It was even before that.
Yes, there was really, really cheap drums for $200, big set. And we said, okay, that's really interesting. We put the mics on it, and he started playing, and we said, absolutely not. will not go anymore with this kind of
This
sound.
is shit.
Yes, and you know what? And they were kind of happy with this, this shit drums. But we said no. Let's spend like few more days in the studio, and they paid for it. And we're looking for right sound of the drums. There was same story with the strings on the guitars. Vox spent, I think, like 7 days to find in the studio. I said, right strings to his hand. 7 days. He called to everyone. He bought each string. He play a lot,
I believe it.
So this is like really trust, And he said, "Okay, what do you guys think?" And
So this is a very important topic, actually. I am not surprised at all that the Decapitated guys came in trusting the people that they hired and allowed you to do your job. So what I've noticed from working with everything from local bands to bigger bands is that the bigger bands tend to trust their producers more. It's oftentimes a lot of the smaller bands, the local bands, that have a lot more of the trust issues. And what I think is interesting is the bigger bands have figured out how to work with other people and how to collaborate, which is part of why they're bigger bands. They've learned how to work as a team with each other, and then also with the producers that they hire, the mixers they hire. They let them do their job, and they have figured out that if you don't trust somebody, maybe you shouldn't hire them. Maybe you should hire somebody you do trust. Or maybe you should just let people do their job and everything will be better as a result. But I have a lot of producers who listen to URM who are still at the beginning of their careers. One of the questions that they always ask is, the bands won't take my ideas. These bands come in and pay me, but then they don't listen to anything I have to say. What do I do? And the first thing I think is they don't trust you yet. That's what it is. They just don't trust you yet. And that's a tough situation to be in, especially at the beginning of your career, because you can't say, well, Behemoth trusted me, Decapitated trusted me, Vader trusted me, you're here because of them, trust me, or don't. You can't say that stuff. You don't have a track record to go off of, and so you have to win their trust right then and there by making good decisions for them. But it's a lot harder when you don't have a track record, in my opinion. So my question to you is, how do you build trust, in your opinion, with artists before you have all these awesome bands to show, like before Decapitated, before Behemoth, before all that?
For us, this was always small steps. So of course you can't start record big band, yes? So what we did at the beginning, we just simply make really low rates for the studio. And we record like 7 days. Believe me, like for 7 or 8 years, we record 7 days per day. From morning...
7 days per week.
Per week, yes. From morning to the evening, all the time. We were cheap, and we finally, the first we had...
How many hours a day?
18, 20, sometimes.
A lot.
A lot.
Were you guys married?
Before that, no.
No, absolutely not.
But there is no other way. The first experience, we met every week new band. So after, 1 year, we recorded all local bands. Few, 1 or 2 bands, they play outside of our city, yes? So somebody else say, oh, I like that record, yes? So maybe we can call to that studio. So we start to record not only local bands, yes? Then, again, there is few records that people released. In those days, the simply was CD. So people just opened the CD and there was always, credits. Where was it recorded? Right now, I think it's way more difficult because it's all on the internet. And sometimes it's even difficult to find information where those guys record this album, yes?
It's a little bit more difficult, but people still figure it out.
Yes, but I think those small steps, yes? You start from the small bands, if you do your job good, so after a while, you will have like something bigger one. If you like put something new and fresh, I think that's important. You don't record exactly like, I don't know, everybody doing around.
In the beginning, we talk with the band what they want from us if they want to record, and we listen those guys' kind of proposition. Simply, we just talk between two of us, and can we make it? Can we make it this kind of sound what they proposed? And many times we said, no, this is no way. We cannot do it like this because, you know, your style music is a bit different. Your everything is feeling is a bit different, and sometimes it's too difficult for us or for the band. So we said no, we're not gonna do that. And also when we're doing recording, like we, for example, like started tracking the drums, we asked, do you like the sounds of the drums? And the drummer said, you know what? Yes, I think yes. No, man. Do you like it really sound of the drums? Because in the mix will be no surprises. I mean, so the trust you build from the beginning, you know? Some people record the drums and say, you know, don't worry. And the mix will be, after the mix.
It'll be good later.
Yeah, later. No, man. Please, let's do it. Do you like the snare? You know, I think it's too low. So let's just change the tuning, like change the snare, you know. Do you like the punch of the snare? Not really. So let's change again, you know, position, the mic, the sound. Do you like how the sounds? I'm not sure. So let's listen to your kind of demo or some kind of, you know, different music. And then he said, you know what, I like it, you know, like for 100%.
So you're taking the time with little steps to make sure that the client is getting exactly what they wanted. And I think what you said is actually very interesting, that if you ask if they like it and they say, yeah, and you say, no, do you really like it? And the reason I think that it's interesting that you said that is because bands won't always tell you what they're thinking right away, because a lot of them, they want to be polite. They're afraid to cause a confrontation. They don't feel secure that what they're hearing is the right thing, right? They're not the expert with recording, so they think that maybe it feels weird to them, but they don't trust their own hearing enough to say they don't like something, and so they won't say it. But then 6 months later, when it comes out and they're unhappy with it, they'll tell their friends in other bands that they were unhappy with it. And you had no idea that they were unhappy because they didn't say anything. The whole time they were just saying, yeah, sounds good. So I think that you pushing them to really be honest about how they feel and to really, really, really focus on making it exactly what they want it to be, I think that's very, very important. You can't just take the first thing they say and think that it's automatically true. You need to analyze how they respond to you and analyze if they actually are telling you what they think, or are they afraid to tell you what they think? Like, for instance, I think Nurgle from Behemoth, like, I'm sure he will tell you what he thinks. You have to know the personality of who you're working with. There's some people who, you know, they will tell you exactly what they're thinking, but not everybody's like that. And it's important as a producer to understand who you're working with.
Yeah, you're right. But it's again the trust.
Absolutely.
After those years, I think it's very simple. When the band came to us, I think we, in that kind of situation, because Sławek and me really love to listen the band, what they want to say. Personally, I don't want to, like, okay, they come to us, they have, like, new ideas and say, no, we can't do like that because we don't do like that. So I always want to hear what they want to say. I want to hear how they sound, and then try to think if I can improve his stuff or suggest something new, fresh. But first, I think listening the band. Even it doesn't matter which band, is it really small one or the big one. I think it's like personal communication. Nobody wants to, if you go to, I don't know, for conversation, For me, conversation is like the sharing the knowledge of the two people. And it's the same with the music. It's always good to hear what they want to approach. I don't know how to explain what kind of
No, you're
song
explaining it very
production
well.
they want. Then listen it carefully. I mean, really carefully, and then think, how can I do it better or not better? Maybe different then. But first, listen.
Yes, and also we learn every day from each musician from each band. For example, I go back again to this kind of this album Organic Hallucinosis, Decapitated. There was like really situation when the Witek, he played the drum solo, which is recorded in this album. And first impression, I say, you know what? Sławek, I think this is like really bad drums solo. That was my first impression, but I was like, of course, listen a few times and thinking how he's feeling the groove, something like new style. I was like shocked, after a few hours, So this is how we learn. This is how I learn. Some kind of new feeling of the taste of the music from the other people is very important for us.
I think like last sentence from my side, if I stop listening people and if I will decide that, okay, I know how to do that, I know everything, for me it's the end of my, I don't know how to say, my knowledge.
Career.
That's when you stop getting better.
Yes. Because I learn every day from almost every band. I mean, really, seriously. Just simply, it's like if your mind is open, you can always find something new and fresh and can use it. Maybe not on that session, maybe 1 year later. Yes, but this is for me, it's very, very important.
Of course, if the people trust you.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. On the topic of learning, through this podcast and through Nail the Mix and all the other things I do, one thing that I've really, really realized is that, all the best mixers and producers and guitar players that I have on the Riff Hard podcast, and they all share this. They all share the idea that they're always learning. They're never done. They're never good enough, which is how they get so good, in my opinion, is because they're always getting better. The idea of I know everything I need to know is the moment that somebody says that is the moment that they start going backwards, in my opinion. Is that it's the moment they stop evolving. The best musicians, the best producers, the best mixers, no matter how long they've been around, they're still learning. Man, I remember, I believe I had Bob Clearmountain on about a year ago, and he's still learning things. So if that guy's still learning things, everybody else should still be learning things, in my opinion.
Yes, you are completely right.
Yeah. Another example was Jeff Loomis. I remember I was assisting on a record of his on Conquering Dystopia. I was assisting on the recording many years ago, and I remember Jeff came in to my house and we were just talking about guitar. We had known each other for a while, but he told me he was getting lessons. But he was already in his 40s at that point in time, and he was, this is 2013. He had already done Nevermore and was already, best guitar players, period. This guy's getting lessons. He doesn't need lessons. He's fucking Jeff Loomis. But that's the point. The reason he's so good is because he's always trying to get better.
Yes, I think that's the clue. I think for not only also for music, for everything you do. I mean, it's like general common stuff.
And I don't know about you guys, but I think I'll learn a lot every day from my wife. So this is... the way go to the perfection,
There is no perfection. No
But the
perfection.
way, it's like a way to go to do. But you never probably reach perfection, but the way to go.
For sure, you will never reach. I will never reach.
I definitely am learning how to be a better person from the lady in my life. That's for sure. Out of curiosity, then, so you gave the example of Decapitated where you knew that there was a new sound that can be created. They're coming to you with the raw materials for something that hasn't been done yet. What about in the case of something like Behemoth, where he has such a detailed vision for what that is, like what Behemoth is supposed to be? Is your role the same, do you think?
No, I think it's not. For my taste, it wasn't the same.
How do you approach something like that? Like, they've thought of everything.
It's like, for me, it was like another session, like every one of, but, a way more longer. Because for me, it's like the bigger bands can afford like more experimentation. They have time to check the all even strange possibilities that regular bands, they don't have time to do that. Because if you have like a, 1 week session, you can't experiment like 5 days with the guitars. You just simply, listen those guys, listen how he plays, and then you think, okay, I can do it in that way, yes. But with bigger bands, it's okay. Let's say I know that I have like 2 or 3 weeks for the guitars, yes. So I can even help him to choose the guitar, the pickup. The good thing is in that kind of really big session, we can like help him to choose from every small step. And then like we can help to create from beginning like everything. Even we help with the vision, because with the Behemoth, we also talk a lot about the vision, how organic it's supposed to be. Should we, copy and paste, or if we should edit, or how should we edit, or no. Even those, because they record like a lot of albums before, they know very good like studio flow, studio work. So somehow they also want to get something new. But for me, it was like, I don't know how, I can't explain you, to be honest.
But it's like, I think, for example, we start to record with Behemoth, not really so far. So our first meeting with those guys was like from, what's the album?
Evangelion. We did their guitars.
And there was our first meeting with those guys. And they record in different places with somebody else. And be honest, they didn't want to work with us. Nergal, he said, I don't want to work with them. And of course, he didn't say to us. But when he's got to the point and he said, you know what, he want to work with us because they have like we heard they had some problem with the recording guitars. They spent too much time recording guitars, so he decided ask us to record guitars with him, and there was a very smooth session. And he said, we'd like to record, with next album. Actually, The Satanist was the next one. We record all of them from here in the studio.
But it's again, I think it's the trust.
And small steps.
Yes.
First we make the guitars, because for the guys was like, when you record like 4 weeks guitars, you can be crazy. If that riff is in tuning or no. That note is in tuning, they're in the tempo, not too fast, not too slow. We need to help them very fast judgment. Okay, it's not good. Oh, you are too high. No, it's too low. One more, you are too fast, you are too slow. So they trust us for the guitars first. And the session was, like Sławek said, very smooth. And then they decide to the next album do with us.
And also, it's like things, how's Wojtek, for example, working with musicians. So he asked those guys bring his sound to the studio, and he's playing and he's captured the sound. And Wojtek, he made by him, alone the sound, like maybe oppositive, like something different. And then at the end, we say, you know what? Let's take a blind test. This is your is kind of sound A or B or C, and please close the eyes and listen to those 3 or 2 ways and choose the best. And the people choosing the best, right sound, guitars to fit with the drums and etc. So the people not starting to push you, I want to my sound, but they're choosing the best sound from a few of them. And Wojtek and we not really push each other. If some guy, he's really precisely, vision of the sound of the album, of the song. So, okay, let's do like this. We capture the sound, and we make like a different way. We propose something different, and then is a blind test, and they're choosing the final version.
That's a great way to do it. I remember I used to do that when the Kemper first came out. People didn't want to use it. Sometimes it did sound better than whatever the other options were, but sometimes people just didn't want to use it because they didn't want to use it. And so I would do blind tests of the Kemper and then whatever else and let them pick. And oftentimes they pick the Kemper tone. And then suddenly they were okay with it. Once they do the blind test and they hear that they like something better, and then they're okay with it. And that's a great way to earn somebody's trust because they're getting to make the decision, right? It's their decision. There's no bias. They're not feeling like you push them into it. I think that's a great way. That's a great way to do it. I also like what you guys said about you let them come in with their sound and do their sound, and then alone you're going to come up with your own options. So not doing it in front of them or pushing it in their face or whatever. Do it on your own time and then present them the options. I think that's great.
I think sometimes it's very difficult to explain like the other people. So, okay, you are using that guitar for, 5-10 years. Maybe it's time to try something new. So the question will be, why? For me, why not? But sometimes when you simply, like Slawek say, change something and play them and simply say us which one is better. They even don't know what's the difference between them. Say A or B or C. That really helps. That really helped us a lot.
I mean, a lot with the work, especially with
a lot of bands. I mean, really, if the small one and the bigger one, that really helps.
We'd like to say we really take care of everything what is in the beginning. So how he's playing, for example, like drums to record, to capture the sound. What skin we're using, what's tune, what's kind of snare we're using, what they want to sound like. Everything is really important. We take care with small, really important details. Even like we put in the marker tapes on the carpet, whereas drummer chair is sitting, because we know it's like in the 2 days they're moving like few centimeters on the back, so they change the sound. So we really take care. The musicians see these kind of things and they simply trust us,
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think musicians like to see attention to detail. They like to see that you really, really care about their project. I mean, it's their whole life to them when they're working on it. So when the person that they hire or the team that they hire really, really give a shit about all the details, that's inspiring. And I also think that what you said about small steps with the Behemoth example of guitars first, I think some people would have gotten the gig for recording the guitars and been very disappointed that it's not the whole album. Instead of looking at it as an opportunity to do a great job with the guitars and see where that leads. Forget that it's not the whole album. This is the job. The job is the guitars. And do the best job possible with the guitars. I think some people would have not been able to get their ego out of the way.
Yes, I think you're right. It wasn't easy for me, like, at the beginning. I always push myself, why, I can do that also. But I think it took a time for me, like, to understand, that sometimes it's very good to even allow to other people to finish something. It's like with playing with the band. If you are musician, you are sometimes too much involved in the composing stuff or whatever. So it's good to like somebody else to record that. And to be honest, it will be very difficult to me to mix the album after 3 months session.
Yes.
Because there is no fresh air for that. If I supposed to mix it, I probably would need to rest before I mix it like 2 months. Don't listen to forget, the old details that was on those sessions. And even I think after that break, couldn't be easy because if you spend so much time on it, you are involved like a band into that. And sometimes I think it's good to make like one step behind. Okay, I did my job over here, so please continue. If you want, will be better, yes, or different for sure. That I would do that, yes. So it's good to let people finish.
Yes, and like Wojtek said, like in the beginning, like over 20 years ago, we'd start with the studio, and there was always small steps. We knew, so if the band will be happy, our jobs, he will be back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sometimes he wants to try something new, but we said, don't worry. If he like it, he's looking for the best way, for his career of the music or the sound. So really, it's like perfect place. Let's let him choose whatever the musician want to, So it's really natural way.
If they will like it, they will come back. If not for that album, maybe for for the next one or another one, or maybe again for one song or for a guitars, yes, or for something else.
You never know. I remember the first time that I had a band have somebody else mix something that I recorded a long time ago. My ego was not happy about it. I didn't understand and I was pissed off. I wanted to do the whole thing. But man, the first time that I had someone really good mix something that I produced, it was an amazing experience. Like I remember I had Colin Richardson mix my band that I recorded long time ago, and I didn't realize it could sound so good. It was an unbelievable experience for me. And I realized at that point that, you know what? Sometimes it does take other people to fully realize the vision for something. Sometimes that collaboration will take it to places that I couldn't take it by myself. That kind of stuff stopped bothering me. And really what I started focusing on and what I think people should focus on is the part of the project that is yours, the part that you are hired for, what you are working on, make that the best it can possibly be. And that's what people will remember. If you're not mixing it, and the mix is fucked up, that's got nothing to do with you. But if you recorded the guitars, they should be the best fucking guitars possible. And that's what people will remember.
Yes, it's work between us, two of us. We are totally different guys. We are brothers, but we are totally different with some kind of taste, with the music, with the kind of talking, with the feeling, with reading, different books. We get totally different lives, and we have many times totally different vision with the music, with the sound. Mm-hmm. But together, if you want to work with someone and listen, I listen to the Wojtek and he's listening to me, it's something great because it's like two things goes to the one, and it's always, for us, it's work like this. We help each other, not like say, I do the best, I I can make by myself, you know what I mean? It's a bit different, you know, it's
Partnership.
yes, partnership. It's the same thing with if somebody trusts to even give some record to mastering or mixing, you know, it's the same thing, you know.
All right, so that brings me to this. What is the difference between both of your roles when you're working on an album? Is there a specialty that one of you has? Like I noticed with a lot of production teams, like one person will do like guitars and drums. The other person will do like vocals and vocals and song arrangements. Like, do you guys have specialties? Like, is there a way that you divide the work?
Well, I will tell you something about the Wojtek, because he's not really, probably he would say good words about himself, but okay, this guy's really genius with guitar sound. Really. It's like I love when he's working on on the drum, on the guitars. He's captured kind of Wojtek, but this is true, because that's why I'm talking first and you're listening.
No.
Yes, really, I'm always shocked, you know, because he's listening to some kind of sound. For me, it's like one color of the sound, but not for him, you know what I mean? He's like into the small details in the sound. He's can capture the really original sound with a few minutes. It's not take a lot. You know, for me, it would took maybe days, or you know what I mean. I put the like SM57 mic on the cabinet, and I crank up a little bit the amps. I said, "Okay, I'm done with the sound of guitar," and of course I'm joking, but it's like this kind of situation, but not for Wojtek. You know, is like really into the sound of the, you know, like color of the sound of the. Bass or the guitars and the vocals, like perspective from low to high, you know. It's very interesting. So that's about the Wojtek.
So would you say that Wojtek is more about little details and you are more to do with the workflow?
Actually, I think I'm more like Wojtek is.
I think he's also more on the drums. Sławek was he was a drummer. I don't know the crazy stuff about the tuning, the whole that, you know, the toms, you know.
Yeah, all that shit.
Yes, yeah. Right now, like we work like for a more than, I think it's over 1.5 year. We are working on our software, drum software, which is very close to the end. So taking with him hi-hat sound for 2 weeks, man, you can be crazy. Like 2 weeks with only one hi-hat, you know, to capture the right hi-hat. And question, do you think it's okay if it's open like 1 centimeter and 5 millimeters, or it's too open, and then 1 centimeter, 8 millimeters, and you can hear the difference, yes, in the hi-hat, yes?
Yeah, for people listening, sampling cymbals is like audio waterboarding. It takes so long. It takes forever. For people listening who don't know, it takes forever.
Yes, but I think both of us take about the details.
Just different details?
Yes, different details. Yeah. It's also, you must know that it's not also easy to work together with us, because sometimes, you know, I don't know, he's working on something like very involved, like few days, and I came over here and say him, no, man, it's not good. And, you know, the reaction, the other people, because, and the same is opposite. Sometimes I work like on the guitar tone, ask him, and I really like it, how it sounds.
Sounds like shit, man.
Sounds like shit.
For me, this is shit.
Yes. Then it's like, you know, like...
we are brothers, we're fighting, you know?
Cold water, you know, on your head. And of course, there is like few minutes fight, yes? Then, why you say that, you know? It sounds good, yes? And then after that, you can listen. And if you calm down and check again, maybe there was something good in that. Maybe I should, you know, check it again and change something. It's not also easy, you know.
For both of us, yes.
For both of us. It's not like, you know, happy marriage for 20 years, yes. And it's, of course, it's again trust. But the second, we can handle more correlation between us because we are the brothers. So I think if Sławek wasn't my brother, probably it was like a lot of, regular fights. Because you know how it works, you know how the studio works, how many, work. I don't know. I still love that job. Really. I love the whole recording, the whole production process. So if the band come to here, I'm like 100% here. So sometimes if like Sławek said, okay, change this because it doesn't sound good. So sometimes it's difficult to handle that, yes? Like, okay, I will change that, yes? Because you were involved, you was sure that it's absolutely perfect one, yeah? But, it's good to have like this absolutely great thing to have like the second person which tell you really honest if it's the shit one or no, it's okay. But he thinks like it's really shit one.
You have to really trust each other for that.
Yes. But of course, it's like, yes, it's difficult, but difficult because in the beginning, if you're working with some people, you're trying to put some right words.
We call it sugarcoating.
Yes, but we are brothers. We know we always be together. We was like
there is no gray. So it's black or white.
Yes.
No, okay, it could be like that. Yes, no, it's a good one or shitty one. There is no like stuff between that. Yes. Do you like that snare? No, it sounds like shit. Like wouldn't So it's simple answer and simply question and answer. Do you like that?
Yes
rule?
or no? And he said no. I don't know what it's like really crazy, but it's that work. How we working, with the clients we can talk, about the sound of the punch of the present, something like this. But between us, it's like a totally different.
Sounds to me though that having that other voice is super helpful.
Yes. It's like sending the mixes to another guy with the fresh airs. I don't know. Even if Sławek create, I don't know, some kind of sound, or I create something, and because mostly we don't work at the same time at the same room, because it's not, I think, obvious for all the people. So let's say we start guitars today. So I usually start with the guitars, and Sławek don't listen those guitars, and he's come back like he's maybe at the beginning of the session where we choose the amps, the whole that stuff, talk about that, choosing the guitars, yes, and we choose the guitars. But if he goes like, I don't know, for a coffee, and after he come back after 1 hour and say, I don't like that sound, because, he's fresh airs, yes, he say, you must change something, because, and, there is like explanation, yes, because I don't know, I can hear exactly some kind of notes, or I don't know, the gain is too big or too small, or so it's simply, I trust his judgment. Of course, sometimes I don't agree because I think it's supposed to be different one, but I trust his judgment.
Same thing with me, it's like, there was a situation, I remember the band, when I have to leave the studio, leave the city, that was like in the beginning, like 20 years ago, and I went for a few days outside of the studio, and he stayed alone with the band. And it was all those days like really worried about how session goes on. Is it smooth? Is the guy's happy? The sound is correct? And I was like back to the studio, and he played the music, and I was shocked. That was really excellent sounding album, and he did everything like, and it was like, you know what? This is great job. I will really trust you from now on. I will trust you because you did really by your own, and you surprised not only me but the band, everything. So really, it's like it's good to trust to someone, even if it's difficult in the beginning.
Because he's older one.
Yes.
I'm the younger always.
So when you guys work in different rooms, is it kind of like one person works on certain instruments while another person works on other instruments? Is that kind of the workflow?
I think not exactly, because it's very hard to, I don't know, I can't make the guitar tone without hearing the drums tone, because I think everything is connected. So mostly, let's say, usually we split the session. Like when it's coming to recording stuff, we have like everything. For the clients and for our fresh airs, we like split half day he works with the client, the second I'm working. And the next day is opposite one. We can switch between us very fast, and sometimes band even don't know if we are, changed. So they even didn't capture, oh, it's you, Wojtek? Oh, I was thinking still working with the Slawek.
Because we have like same kind of
Workflow.
The workflow with details, You say, if it's Wojtek, this, I don't know, riff sounds out of tune for me also. And we that's the same.
We have similar ears for that.
Yes, for the kind of details.
And to be honest, it's very hard to record. When you really record, help the band, I don't know, to suggest to change the position on the neck. I don't know, even change the gain, the pickup, the guitar. It's very difficult to be so involved, like for the 8 hours. I mean, for me, it's very difficult, like to be focused 200%.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm really tired. If I'm really focused, like for 4-5 hours, I'm not so, how to say,
Sharp
like at the beginning. So
Yeah,
that's why
absolutely.
we decided with Slawek it's good for us and for our clients if we will, like during the half of the day, will change. And then he comes with the phrase, I'm tired, and I feel that I'm tired. He comes here, okay, let's continue.
Perfect.
And for me, it's very nice stuff. I really like it.
It's a good thing about the trust and good thing with the Wojtek, because if someone let's say, we like to finish whole entire album up to, for example, like some kind of date, like April 12th. So Wojtek is really take care about this kind of things. Must be done by this date. There's no way we can be like 1 hour late with this kind of situation. It's good thing. He's always like blaming me. You know what? Let's speed up. Work because kind of flow because we cannot finish our job to this date. So it's really good to have like this person like his. In the studio on the next to, but also it's good to have a great assistant, helper in the studio, so you can trust too. It's really, really important. So we have a Karol. This guy he's working with us, and really he's making a huge, unbelievable, great job. He's like third part of us. Really, he's like really stick with us, really close. We're very involved with kind of project, with ideas. He's a great guy,
Hey, everybody. If you're enjoying this podcast, then you should know that it's brought to you by URM Academy. URM Academy's mission is to create the next generation of audio professionals by giving them the inspiration and information to hone their craft and build a career doing what they love. You've probably heard me talk about Nail the Mix before, and if you're a member, you already know how amazing it is. At the beginning of the month, Nail the Mix members get the raw multi-tracks to a new song by artists like Lamb of God, Angels and Airwaves, Knock Loose, Opeth, Meshuggah, Bring Me the Horizon, Gojira, Asking Alexandria, Machine Head, and Papa Roach, among many, many others. Over 60 at this point. Then at the end of the month, the producer who mixed it comes on and does a live streaming walkthrough of exactly how they mix the song on the album and takes your questions live on air. And these are guys like TLA, Will Putney, Jens Bogren, Dan Lancaster, Tui Madsen, Andrew Wade, and many, many more. You'll also get access to MixLab, which is our collection of dozens of bite-sized mixing tutorials that cover all the basics, as well as Portfolio Builder, which is a library of pro-quality multi-tracks cleared for use in your portfolio, so your career will never again be held back by the quality of your source material. And for those of you who really want to step up their game, we have another membership tier called URM Enhance, which includes everything I already told you about and access to our massive library of fast tracks, which are deep, super detailed courses on intermediate and advanced topics like gain staging, mastering, low end, and so forth. It's over 500 hours of content, and man, let me tell you, this stuff is just insanely detailed. Enhanced members also get access to one-on-ones, which are basically office hour sessions with us, and Mix Rescue, which is where we open up one of your mixes and fix it up and talk you through exactly what we're doing at every step. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, if you're ready to level up your mixing skills in your audio career, head over to urm.academy to find out more.
I think that a great assistant allows producers and mixers to do more and better work. You know, it's interesting that you said about the 5 hours of focus, 4 hours of focus. I'm kind of the same way. Like, I work many hours a day, but there's 4 or 5 hours where I'm at my best, for sure. It's the first 4 or 5 hours of the day. Like talking to you guys right now, you guys are the first thing for me today. So you guys are getting my best attention. Everything after this is going to be a little bit worse. But yeah, I have about 4 or 5 hours where I'm really at my best. And then it's not that I turn off and become stupid or stupider. I'm just not my best anymore. And I remember when working in the studio as a producer, those 4 or 5 hours would be great. And then we could still do work, but I wasn't as sharp, and for some reason I didn't care. It's not that I was trying to not care, but like I didn't care the way I did before. My brain just wasn't on it. And so you let little things go that you wouldn't let before. Is that really out of tune? No, sounds fine. Or whatever. Just it becomes harder and harder to make the decisions, the important decisions, because you're getting tired. You're getting tired and your brain isn't as locked in. And I've noticed that also musicians too, who you're recording, they also have a window of time where they're at their best. And then after that, yeah, you could keep recording them if you have to, but they also have a window of what they're best. And I've noticed, especially with drummers, sometimes the best thing to do is to stop, come back the next day when they're at their best. I think it's a very important thing to recognize. I don't know what it's like in Poland, but I know that here in America, we have a culture of overworking. People like to overwork. It's just in our culture. People work their fucking asses off, and it's like a point of pride to say that you worked 16 hours or something like that. And so a lot of people in the studio, you know, they come in with that cultural programming where they think that if we didn't go for 14 or 15 hours, we wasted time. And so it becomes very difficult, you know, once you get past those 5 or 6 hours or something, to tell somebody, I think you've done your best for the day. I think that it would be better if you came back tomorrow. You're getting tired. I can tell. You're not playing that great anymore. We could do tomorrow in 15 minutes what's going to take us 3 hours tonight, and it'll be better tomorrow. And it's hard to get people to be okay with it because they're so programmed to work insane amount of hours. So there's this weird psychological aspect to it. But I think trust goes into that. If they do trust you and you say, yeah, if you say, trust me, it will be better if we take the break, and then you come back and then the next day it actually is better, then that gives you a little bit more of their trust. But I have found that what you're saying to be absolutely true and absolutely relevant on lots of sessions for me. Have you noticed that too with musicians?
Yes.
Very often.
Yeah. We realize the best decision is always in the morning. So we have from about 8 to 11 hours to make really important decision during the mixes, especially the mixes. We really take care of about this kind of situation. We after 3 p.m. we not judge our work. We say, you know what, I hear something, but that could be not true. You know what I mean? So we ask, usually go back to this session, to this sound in the morning. We say the truth. But, you know, it's really interesting about the musicians, because for me, it was kind of surprise. For example, let's play drummers, play through the 6 hours on the drums. So I was thinking always, if the drummer it's tired, it's playing weaker, it's playing softer. But in the experience, my experience is different. When the drummer is tired, he play much, much harder. You know what I mean? So after 6 or 8 hours on the drums, he playing really, really hard. And he cannot play soft. So usually when we go back in the morning, and say, let's please continue the song. And they play softer. And then let's warm up. And it's like, it must be like really few more hours. And they become like really like athletic, very strong. The all muscles must go on drums to play, reach the same sound from the evening. That's very interesting.
Actually, I've noticed that too. Okay, so with drums, I think the window is more like 10 hours. Actually, with the really good drummers, it's not 6. For me, it's 6. But I have noticed something that I always do with drummers is when we're doing drums first is I make them warm up, but not just warm up. I tell them that I want them to feel like they do 4 songs into a live set. Like I need them to feel that same feeling of looseness and power that they have when they're already 3 or 4 songs into the show. And until they feel like that, we're not recording, because I know that it takes a while to get going. So if that means that we need to put the mute pads on the drums so that they don't destroy the heads or whatever, and you're going to play for 2 hours on a loop, then that's what it's going to be. But we are not recording until you feel like you're on song 3 or 4 in the show. And that's worked really, really well for me, because then you don't have that problem of the weak morning takes. And they get a little frustrated with me making them do that, but they're always thankful when they hear how good it sounds. Because drums, out of all the instruments, drums, well, it matters with every instrument, but drums, especially in this kind of music, it makes all the difference how hard somebody is hitting. It makes all the difference. Yeah, the tone, everything is so different when someone is really hitting hard.
Yep, and you're absolutely right. It's like the sound of a human, sound not only like instrument, shelves and skin, and but like really arm, strong man, or different feeling,
Actually, it's very good tip with that drummer feeling. I need to use that. Usually we ask them to just simply to warm up, and we also usually try to let him to play the song, and they don't know even if they recorded. We just simply record all those takes. But what Sławek say also, it's for me, it's some kind of level of the loudness of the drummer, how hard he's hit. It's like I can compare it with how the guitar player hits the guitar. So you need to have the right
velocity.
Yes, not too hard, not too soft. If you hit too hard, the tone of the drums it's not nice. It's cracked. You can hear the tone only like tam 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 attack only. Yes. What Slawek says is very good. That I think they don't control their body, and just simply try to hit harder, and they don't control it. So that's why they hit harder at evening.
It not means it's better, but it's harder, and sometimes they lose everything. But this power goes on. It's like
yes, I can go.
Oh yeah, they lose their control.
Yes. Of course, not everyone, but it's like that's drummers. Yes,
and the I think that's the absolutely great stuff of that. How to say modern digital workflow is that we have like the digitally controlled mixing desk, so we can split the session. If the drummer is tired, we can simply recall of the session of the guitars. And okay, man, you did the great job during those 5 hours. So let's rest. You can rest. We can do something else. The same with the bass. If you start with the bass, I don't know, it's very hard to play the whole day. Yes, so let's split like that session for 3 days. I need to focus you like 3 days, 3 hours every day. and focus really on stuff that you are playing instead of the whole day. I think that's the beauty stuff. In the past wasn't so easy because all was analog, and if you had the sound of the drums on the desk, I couldn't change it until we finished with the drums.
Man, I think that's important with vocals too, because I always thought that it was really funny with metal records. I mean, in a lot of different kinds of music, vocals are going to be what makes or breaks it, right? If somebody hates the vocals, they're going to have a hard time listening to it. Even in death metal, like, people have to like the vocals. The vocals are so important. But it's the traditional way of doing metal is you spend 4 weeks on everything else or 5 weeks on everything else and then 2 days on vocals. That's crazy. So one thing I started doing was the moment we have some rhythm guitars, start doing vocals, like an hour a day or 2 hours a day, and then take a day off, and then 2 hours, and then a day off, so that the whole time that you're recording, you're getting vocals. And what happens is, first of all, they don't destroy their voice, but second of all, you have more time to make sure that the parts are as good or the right parts. Because if you do the whole album in 2 days, first of all, you're going to get some songs that are not at the vocalist's best. You're not. And then you don't have the time to really analyze if the vocals are as good as they could be or as they should be. Then again, I'll say there are some exceptions. There are some vocalists who are so badass that they literally will do everything in 2 hours on a death metal record, and it's perfect. But I think that that's rare.
Yeah, we remember, Wojtek, we had a band.
I'm sure you've had those.
We kind of decided they want to record really fast, all album in, I think, of 4 or 3 days. And you can say what the vocalist did, Wojtek.
You're talking about singing the same...
Yes, same from the...
Okay.
Same
So, of course, there was some alcohol on the session for the vocalist because, he couldn't sing without the alcohol. So he just simply started drinking the alcohol on the first song.
He recorded all of these songs and
3 hours?
3 hours for whole album. And it was at the end he was totally drunk. He was like laid down on the floor because of the Polish, metal Polish band. And then next day he wake up and he checked the lyrics and he sings like the same lyrics for 3 or 4 songs. He was so drunk he even didn't recognize that. You know what I mean? That was unbelievable.
That's hilarious.
And it's we not recognize also, so we it's kind of, so that's the fast sessions, sometimes it could be like this,
there is some kind of how to say metal genres, I don't know how to explain that is very difficult to understand. Even I sit in the metal like for more than 20 years, it's very difficult to understand what they sing.
Oh yeah,
it's some kind of specific styles. Yes,
man, we just had Cryptopsy on Nail the Mix. Flo found the original tape from Phobophile, and so Christian Donaldson, who's the mixer producer, and he's in the band, he did a Nail the Mix with the original, and he just mixed it modern, but it sounds amazing, by the way. But I tried to read the lyrics along with those vocals. I could not understand a fucking word, and I can understand this kind of music. I've been listening to this music since the 90s. I could not understand a fucking word. Like, I was looking at the lyrics and I was listening to them. I have no idea. Sometimes you have no idea what the hell they're saying.
But we had also like the bands that, let's say, there is a last day of the session, and the singer came to the mixing room and says with coffee, okay, we have like, 2 hours left for that session, but I still have like 2 songs to sing. Don't worry, I just give me 20 minutes. I need to finish the lyrics. And I come back, and then we just simply record that. And it was okay, believe me or no.
Yes, it was perfect.
I was surprised. I was shocked how good.
That's why I said it. There's some metal vocalists out there that are that good, where it's better to just let them be themselves. It's better to let them come up with the lyrics at the last minute and do it in 20 minutes, and it's going to be perfect, and it doesn't need to be anything else. But it's risky because there's a lot of metal vocalists who are not like that, and giving them the 2 days or whatever is not a disaster, but it's definitely compromising the quality. Like, there's a lot of vocalists that do need time, you know? They do need time. There's just some guys or girls who have their technique perfect, and they know how to write lyrics super fast, and they're just one of those people, you know? Like a jazz guitar player who can improvise a solo perfectly, one shot, and it's great. I think that there are people like that who exist, but to me, those are the exception. Those kinds would come in like 3 times a year or something, whereas the rest of the year, I'm dealing with normal people. And I feel like the more time that I can give the vocalists, the more rest I could give the vocalists, the better. I mean, have you guys noticed that? Is it that way for you?
Yes, I think it works very good. We actually do that for last few years. And we don't allow to sing. If we record the band first time, we never allow him to sing during last days. Never. I always ask them, I need to hear how you sing. Like, mostly, like you said, we do the same. We have like the first song with the rhythm guitars or 2 of them. So try your vocal. Let's use those 2 hours and listen how it sounds. Today we finished Hate new recording, and it was the same. And with the Nergal was the same. He came to us for like 2 hours for the recording vocals, and then we just make the fast mix down of the song, and goes home. And after like 2 days, 3 days, he comes back, and again, like next song or few, corrections to the first one, and again, yes. And in that way, everything, it's like, what's going on, how it sounds, what it's supposed to be added, if it sounds the right one, or we should change something, yes. I think for the vocals, it's the very, very important. And sometimes, last sentence, I noticed that some of the vocalists has the best voice not at the beginning of the session.
Yes.
You allow him to sing like 2-3 hours, and then again next day 2-3 hours, then they can rest like 2-3 days, and then starts the right voice.
There's many tricks how to reach the sound of the vocals. Metal voice is like, if the band or we not satisfied with the sound of vocals, we can also change the microphone. That's normal, right? But also we can ask them to drink something like cold, hot water, or tea, and just change the sound a lot. So we've got this kind of experience to work with, and we can say, this is no more singing today, please go upstairs, because we have a room upstairs for musicians, and please rest. We go back, for example, for 2 days. But also, it's like 20 years ago, I didn't know about this. It's like if some metal voices get tired, they go, and the guys was really desperate to finish these vocals very quickly. They go to the pharmacy and try to put the pills, some kind of pills on the throat to lose, because they're very damaged. This is really not help a lot.
No, it's a bad idea.
But we met some kind of guy who was show us some kind of special technique, how to breathe after a really long session. During 15 minutes of exercise on the throat, his voice go back to the normal. I was shocked. So this is kind of school. There's, so the people, the special metal heads, they should know how to work with the voice, not only put some shot of vodka and start to singing, but also think how to cue the voice, control the voice,
Yes, simply control.
There's proper technique for screaming. A friend of mine, her name is Mary Zimmer, and she's got a YouTube channel called Voice Hacks, but she talks a lot for people who are interested in learning about, proper technique so that a screamer doesn't fuck themselves up. The Voice Hacks YouTube channel covers a lot of these kinds of exercises. Also for URM subscribers, we did a fast track with her about for producers who need to communicate with vocalists about how to communicate with them about how to fix their technique. If you're not a vocalist, without being a vocalist, how to communicate with vocalists in ways to get around a lot of the problems, like their voice getting tired, to prevent blowout or just to get the most out of them. But I want to key in on something you said. You said that sometimes what you do the first 2 days isn't really the beginning of the vocal session. It's really day 3. But you know what? Dude, I've noticed that with a lot of things. Like, I feel that way with drums too. Like, so say that, like, I would spend like 3 or 4 days getting drum sounds, maybe more, 7 days, The most ever for me has been 10. But like, just say, spent a few days getting drum sounds, and then you start recording. But I feel like still through the first 2 songs, that drum sound is still evolving. And not just that, the drummer is getting comfortable, and something happens around the 3rd or 4th song that I feel like the drum sound is finally what it needs to be, and the drummer is finally playing the way they need to play. And then everything they do from there sounds way better than the first 2 songs. So oftentimes we'll go back and redo those songs. And I've noticed that with mixing. I've noticed that with writing songs or riffs too, that I would start writing and think I have something cool. And then by the time I get to the 3rd riff, that's really the first riff. That's really the first cool riff. And then everything I wrote before it, I trash. I've noticed that a lot with lots of different musical things, that the first stuff you do, maybe you're just getting warmed up still. It's important to, not always though, not always. So it's important to recognize them, I think.
Yes, mostly you're right. But I had like sometimes feelings that, especially during the mixing, that you can catch something in the first mixes.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And there is very hard to beat it later.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, okay, there is some kind of details, yes? Of course, you can make them better. I think during the mixes, sometimes I had like feeling that, okay, this one is the good one. And sometimes like I can like make the mix down of the first one, continue, make some corrections, and then I rest, I come back and listen the first one and the second one. The first one was way better overall. Of course, there is still something you need to be fixed, but it has something.
That energy.
Yes. But with the instruments, we very often recorded the first songs again.
Yeah. Well, I agree with you with the mixing. I think it's important to be able to recognize that, because I've had both things happen, and I've seen both things happen with other mixers, that sometimes they get it in the first 45 minutes of mixing. Like the sound for the whole album, there it is. Boom. 45 minutes later, I've seen them go into this weird mental state where they have a hard time accepting that they got the sound for the album in 45 minutes because it should take longer. So it can't be right. It's impossible. So they'll keep on going, and then they'll make it worse. I've seen that happen many times. I think it's very important to be able to recognize when you do get something from the beginning, just to be able to recognize it. It's hard to do. But then also sometimes I've noticed that it just does take, some mixes don't cooperate. They don't play nice. And it does take a little while before you figure out the right approach, I think.
Yeah, I remember we 1 year ago, we did some kind of hardcore band, and we did the mixes, and band loved them. But we just simply sent them to the reviews, and we didn't listen it for a week, and we power up. Oh man, I mean, we need to change that because,
Not good?
yes, whoa. And we changed that, was way better. I mean, way better. But I think it's very important, of course, to catch when you are go too far, or even, I don't know, sometimes you record. If you think that that's the one, so simply just make like small sample of it, yes, and save it and go further, yes, and then simply compare, like make the blind test. If it's still your new one is the better one, or
Back to the blind test, that is really one of the best ways to really know if you're making progress or not. Such a simple but foolproof method, I think.
Always worth it to try, yes.
One thing I've noticed with mixes is whenever I would get to a point where I'm feeling, fuck yeah, I would do a save as. And then whenever I would be getting to a point where I'm about to try something that could take it in a completely other direction, another save as, so that no matter, even though I'm getting backups constantly, like my Pro Tools is set to back up every minute, but still I want to know when I have felt awesome about it, and I also want to know when I have taken a gamble and possibly derailed it, so I can go back to where I was. Do you guys do anything like that?
During the mix, we're making a lot of samples of the mix. Sometimes we, during the mixing, we're starting like 27, 40 different way of the mix. So this is our workflow during the mix. So we're making a lot version of the mix. And we knew, so we could be tired, but we have like, so after a few days or next day, we'll listen all of the mixes. We don't really take care if it's morning or evening, but must be something into this mix. And then we go back to this kind of version and we make details. So it's very long story with the mixes, about choosing. So sometimes Wojtek, he's doing by his own mixes. I'm doing by myself. And we listen all those versions and we discuss on everything. So, man, it's really hard, sometimes. But it really, sometimes band even don't know how much we spend on the mixes. Sometimes we have like... for band what we just done, we have like 56 version of the mixes. The band only know about 3 of them.
I was about to ask. That was my next question, actually. 56 versions that they wanted, or
No,
you guys?
no, of course not. But it's you also need to know what is the for Sławek mix version. Even if he changed like 1.5 dB or 1 dB of the kick, some kind of special frequency.
That's a mix version.
Yes, for mix version, so. Of course, for regular people, even they can hear the difference. We even don't show them because it really no sense to show them. Yes, for me, in the mix, like the most important is to catch something.
What do you mean?
In that music, I don't know how to explain.
Okay.
It's like, of course, the nice frequency response, compression, blah blah blah. Yes, it's very important. It's good that. It's absolutely great if the mix has something unique, some kind of energy. I don't know how to explain
energy
that.
or identity or essence. I know what you're saying. It's one of those things that is very hard to verbalize, but you know it when you hear it. I'm just going to go back to the Nail the Mix that we had this past weekend because it's a perfect example. So we did 3 this weekend with Christian Donaldson. He did Shadow of Intent, Cryptopsy, the old Cryptopsy, and then Beyond Creation. And so for people who aren't familiar with them, Beyond Creation sounds like prog death metal with like fretless bass and Opeth kind of chord changes. Shadow of Intent is like the heaviest modern deathcore you can imagine, super modern and with orchestra and just heavy as fuck. And then Cryptopsy is like classic death metal, classic technical death metal, about as classic as it can get. The recording is from 1994. So 3 completely different styles of music, same mixer, a lot of the same techniques. But what was really, really great about it was that each one of the sessions had its own identity. Even if a lot of the same techniques are used, one of the things that I really got from it was that they don't sound like each other. They each had something unique to them. Now, part of that does have to do, I think, and maybe you'll agree with me, in the arrangement and the songwriting and the recording process, because those three bands, I mean, it's not just that they're mixed differently. I mean, and everything else about them is completely different. So I think when you're mixing something, in order to bring out something unique about it, I mean, it helps if there's something unique already there from the beginning, right?
Yes.
You're nodding, so you agree. Okay, cool.
Yes. To be honest, sometimes, it's difficult to explain the band why can't be a bigger.
Would you mean bigger as in bigger sounding or bigger as in like Metallica?
The band, I don't know, the sounding, yes.
Okay.
At the end, it all comes from the songs. I think if the song is absolutely great, and even if I'm the really shitty mixing engineer, I can't fuck up so much. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But if the song is nothing special in it, so it's very difficult to catch something in that song, to put it in really absolutely top level. I think for me, it's even impossible. But if the song, the arrangement, the whole structure, how the song was composed, how they played, you don't need to be a magician.
Well, the greatness is already there. You're just bringing it out. It's interesting. I was thinking about this last night. I got a review. I try not to read reviews, but sometimes I do because I'm stupid. But I was reading reviews of the podcast, and most of them are great. 5 stars for the most part. Thanks, everybody. But there was one who gave it 3 stars, and he said that it's only good when the guests are interesting. So EYAL's a shitty host because it's only good when the guests are interesting. And I'm thinking, well, okay, what you might not realize is I'm not a magician. If my guests aren't interesting, there's only so much I can do about it in the conversation. Like, there's some people who might not be very good at speaking because they don't speak all the time. And my job is to help them get comfortable and to get things out of them that nobody else has before, and to get them talking about something that they talk about every day of their lives, just not in this format. And then, so I've been able to make a lot of people who are not normally speakers talk about something that is really interesting. However, not everybody, no matter what you say to them, I can't make them interesting. If they're a boring person, if they have nothing to say, it doesn't matter if they do have an interesting job or if they're a good mixer or anything like that. If they themselves are a boring person, there is nothing I can do to make them interesting. I can't control what comes out of their mouth. So I feel like it's a similar sort of thing as the mixing analogy, that if you don't have the right source tracks, the right song with the right arrangement, it doesn't matter what you do with the mix. You're not making it a great song. It's going to be a good sounding, mediocre song always, always. And with the podcast analogy too, it's always nice if my guests have a setup like mine, but that's not always possible. Sometimes I talk to people who all they have is an iPhone and no headphones or whatever, and it's not going to sound as good as when everybody has a podcasting studio and it's perfect. But some of the best conversations I've had have been the episodes I've done where I'm in a hotel room in the middle of nowhere, no sound treatment, and all I have my laptop microphone, sounds like shit, and my guest is on an iPhone, sounds like shit, but we have an amazing conversation and nobody cares because the conversation's great. It's a similar thing to what you're saying, in that what really, really matters, I think, is the content, right? Or the quality of the music, the quality of the conversation. That's, at the end of the day, that's what actually matters the most. No amount of recording quality, mixing quality is going to take something mediocre and make it great. or something shitty and make it great.
Yeah, I remember it's like, I will give you like one explanation, this kind of situation. We had few recording, mixing courses, production, and we invite a very kind of really cool guy and a very great musician, famous guy to our course to show our students how the difference is between the sound from the great guitarist on what was important in the hand or the sound, I would say. They ask them, please tell us what kind of string you're using, what kind of guitar. And he said, stop, why you ask me for this kind of things? It's not really important. It's because he said, and before the show, he's taking, he's got the guitar in his hands and try to warm up in the front of people. And he's playing few riffs and he's playing his own riffs and people just watching, listening. But he tried to play like Pantera or Rammstein, AC/DC riff. People start crying, go, crazy. And he asked them, so you think is a sound important or the riff, the music is important more? The people get more involved in the music when they have feelings, to that riff, to that music. Mm-hmm. The sound, is like not that important. With really talented guys, really great riff. Because you could have really great preamps, really great mics. And if you have root source, really not interesting, will be nothing.
And you're completely right. Even if you spend, make people comfortable. If they don't play interesting, if they don't have something interesting to say,
yes.
Yeah.
In Polish, it's very common sentence. If something looks like shit, if you have shit, sorry for the language, no matter how you paint it or you will change the side, it's still shit.
Yes. How do you say that in Polish? Is it like a phrase?
It's phrase, yes.
What is it? I want to hear it.
Yeah, z gówna rzeźby nie ulepisz.
I could never say that.
I think it's a very true sentence. It's like...
So in English would be exactly from the shit you cannot sculpture the great art.
We say you can't polish a turd. That's the way we say
it.
It.
Something like this, yes.
Yeah.
I tell that, to be honest, a lot for the bands. Because for me, it's art. It's always about the art. I always say that making music is not like building houses. Of course, it's like you can put that bricks like that and the house you will build it and will be probably useful for another 100 years. And with the music, it's not like that. You can take 3 riffs, yes. Even right now, there is a intelligence, yes, on the computers programs that you can, programming, and you have the ready riffs, yes. But I know if you can really hear the nice song, I still, my body is almost shaking, because of the chords, the whole that stuff was going on. In that case, I really don't care how it sounds, because my whole body, my mind, just has unbelievable pleasure from listening the music.
Or disgusting
Absolutely.
is the same thing, You can make disgust, something really be angry or something, So it's really, really interesting. But yes,
unbelievable. Yes, good to catch the band to record with that kind of bands.
With emotional feelings, so kind of what they're thinking, what they want to.
I wish to all the sound engineers to record even once in the whole life with that kind of band.
What's interesting too, though, is it's such a complicated profession to explain because it's so technical. Recording and mixing, there's so much technical stuff, scientific stuff, technology that you're using, whether you're using old school technology or new or both. there's a lot of technology involved. And you have to learn how to use it. It breaks. Like there's computers. Like there's all this technical stuff that you have to know how to do it, or you're not going to be able to record well. But then you need to be able to put that aside and remember that you're creating art and capture the art and not let any of that technical shit get in the way of the art. And that's actually very difficult, I think. I think that that's the biggest challenge, because while I do think that it is very difficult to learn the technical side of recording, of course it's difficult. It's super difficult. And it takes many, many, many years. I think that the true greatness happens when you have taken that knowledge and that skill and turned it into something that just facilitates the art. It's really hard, I think, to get it to the point where you don't have to think about the technical so much. You just do the technical in the service of the emotion and the essence of the art. I think that's the ideal, right?
Yes,
you describe it in very nice words.
Yes, actually.
Yeah, but yes.
You are exactly like really great person, because it's really big art to talk with us, with guys, Polish guys who not speaking native English.
You speak really well, actually.
You're doing so well, and we really comfortable with our conversation. Is very into the kind of really deep in the music, So this is your art, man. Thank you very much. It's really pleasure to talk with you, really.
Well, likewise, I appreciate you guys coming on. Sometimes when I approach certain people, they don't want to come on because they're afraid of their English not being good enough. And I always tell them to please don't worry about that. That's not a problem. Like, first of all, your guys' English is perfectly fine. But I know that a lot of my European guests or Asian guests a lot of them have been nervous to do this. But thing is, my parents aren't American. Most of my extended family is not American, and I didn't learn English first. So my whole life I've spent going between languages and having to understand family members who, didn't speak English as well as me. So it's not hard for me. And plus, at the end of the day, we're talking about something that we all, have spent our lives doing. So even if there's a language difference, like recording is recording, music is music. I think there's a reason for why people say music is the universal language.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think that the emotion that somebody feels from music is much more powerful than language. That's why you can have a band write a song in one language, go to another country where nobody even understands a word of the lyrics, and still feel the exact same thing that the people in the home country for the band feel. Like, I think about, for instance, Dimmu Borgir put out some songs in Norwegian, I remember, on the Death Cult Armageddon album. And I don't speak a goddamn word of Norwegian. Those are my favorite songs. And I have no fucking clue what he's saying. Doesn't matter. The feeling is there. I mean, I know there's bigger examples like Rammstein having Du Hast get huge in the U.S. and nobody knew what that meant. But it sounded cool and it felt cool. So I think it's a similar thing.
Yes, absolutely. That's why I really love the music, It's sometimes, when we record the band from, Brazil, Germany, France, Poland, if there is something between, if something happened like magical on the session,
it's really music.
It really doesn't matter,
Yeah.
If my English or his English is good one, or Russian one, yes, because sometimes we record from the Russia or the Russian language, yes, it really doesn't matter, yes. It's the last thing.
No, great riff is a great riff.
Yes.
So when you record non-Polish bands, what language do you guys speak?
English.
Try to English, yes.
Except the Russian.
So you speak Russian?
Yes.
Okay. I never used to think about this, but I remember once on tour with Dark Funeral in like 2007, we stopped in Phoenix, Arizona, and Behemoth were playing down the street. And I guess we had toured with them before, and they're friends with Dark Funeral. So actually, the Behemoth guys came to the show and on the bus. So it was my band, Dark Funeral from Sweden, Behemoth from Poland. And I noticed they were talking to each other in English. And then I realized, oh yeah, they're Swedish and Polish. There's two completely different things.
Absolutely
of course,
different.
Of course, they're speaking to each other in English. Why is this even a surprise? This is the most obvious thing. Makes perfect sense. So do you guys speak a lot of English with your clients?
Except the last year.
Well, yeah. Okay, yeah. For people listening in the future, it's April 2021, so the last year was COVID.
Yes, but mostly 90% of the session we speak English because, 90% of our customers are outside of the Poland.
All right, so that brings up two final things I want to talk about. You said 90% of your customers are outside of Poland, and we have a lot of listeners who, they're not in Nashville and Los Angeles or Gothenburg. A lot of them live in the middle of nowhere. And I know that you're not in the middle of nowhere. They live in places that are not, meccas for music or whatever. There's not a ton of stuff around them, and they don't want to move, though. So they have to get to the kind of situation that you guys are in, right? Where 90% of your work is coming in from someplace else. How do you think you get to that kind of point, starting from a place in the world that's not like, Los Angeles or Nashville or London or Gothenburg?
I think no. Again, was like small steps. Mm-hmm. If you say that we are in the middle of nowhere, I think we are in the middle of nowhere.
Do you consider in the middle of nowhere?
Yes, I think it's Białystok. It's very hard to explain. Like 10 years ago or 12 years ago, the Poland even wasn't in the European Union. So if somebody email to us, I remember the band from Netherlands, they send email and they ask us, do you have restaurants in your city? Or the next question, do you think we can buy the vegetarian food in your city?
Do you have electricity?
Yes.
Like this. Yes.
So
yes, exactly.
they afraid.
Have you guys heard of this crazy thing we have called cars?
Yeah, I saw on the email, on the internet, man. Believe me or no, it was like that. That because we are very close to the Russian border, and the whole Poland, I think, was like for the Western countries was like, I don't know, it's end of civilization. It's something between the Russia and nowhere.
It's like forest. We live in the place where it's a big forest. Like everything is like winter is a really winter. It's like really.
So it is the middle of nowhere.
Yes.
And actually, right now, of course, you have planes. The whole that stuff is making like easier, but it wasn't like 12 years ago.
Or 20 years.
Or 20 years ago. It's, oh man, I won't even mention. It's still like, if I remember, like the guys in Brazil, from Brazil came over here, and they go to a local store. So nobody say in English. So they simply want to buy a chicken. So the best way, they laughing for that. So that's why he buy the chicken, yes?
And they put the finger on the meat and they said it was funny. But also, there was a guys from Siberia. They came from Russia to us. They say they travel like took like 2 days take the train and like half day on airplane. So like 3 days to catch the studio. So in one way, so
wow.
It's but sometimes the second way, we have bands. Sometimes we discuss and we work with the bands, and then even want to go take the taxi, go to us. It's everything in the brain and the people with the brain. If the people trust us, they think it's worth it. Go there to learn something, to make some kind of big part of music together, and things happen. It's like no borders. It's no no walls to break and make it. Be here, work together. But it's everything is a brain.
So what do you think the small steps are in a situation like yours? Is it like you start with what you can, start with the bands that you can work with, the artists you can work with, and make sure that they have the best experience possible and that you do the best possible work with them, and then hopefully they say nice things to their friends?
I think there is no other way. Maybe other guys had a really luck, I don't know, one single shot, first band, beautiful song, and bam.
That's very rare.
Yes, but I think could be situations like that. But for us was, and still is, very hard job. That I really love it, but it's hard job. It's like make the same on each session with every musician. I think that's the clue. But the small musician must feel very like a big one, and the big one also is supposed to be like something special. And the focus, really focus on our job, on our productive way on that album. And for me, I know it's nothing, special, but it's only small steps, You do something nice for that band. The world is really small. A lot of people know each other, yes? They meet on the gigs, on the touring, yes? So you say, oh, I did a recording with those guys. Session was really shitty one. I don't like it. So do you think they will go? No.
Of course not.
I think it works like that.
I think this kind of small steps, like over 20 years ago, I remember when Wojtek mentioned we started a business together, and there was bands, and they have big expectation, they want to sound like a New Testament album, for example. And we have pair microphone and a small, very small mixing the analog desk, and zero knowledge. And we say, let's try do something, and push. And we realize after the session when they record guitars how they felt and make the best way. And they went home, and we sit together in the evening, we listen to music, and we listen the reference track of Testament and our job, and said, you know what, this is no way, this will not sound like Testament at the end. And you know what? Let's not sleep at night. Not sleep at Don't talk even with the bands. The best hour. Learn a lot how to do it. Make better to be a band. Really kind of maybe not happy, but satisfied with playing. There was really hard work behind the curtain. Something in the back. Mm-hmm. So we did to record a lot of bands to spend together with this kind of problems. We have build up experience. Knowledge with experience. So this is really, really important, So this is small steps. Not you think it is not give up. You know what I mean? So it's really. We not give up from the beginning. Even we knew we're not going the right direction. We not give up.
I think that people at the beginning who are working with those difficult clients that have unrealistic expectations, 3 days to sound like Slipknot or something, instead of getting mad, because I know that a lot of people will get frustrated or mad. Instead of getting mad and frustrated, look at it as an opportunity to learn how to solve problems. An opportunity to try to get better. Maybe it's not going to sound like a Slipknot album in 3 days, but that doesn't matter. You can still do your best to try and get it as close as possible to what it should be and to overcome those issues. And I've always said, I think a great producer, a great mixer is a great problem solver. And you want to do that problem solving early and with small bands, so that when you do finally get the chance to work with a Behemoth or something, you know how to solve the problems.
Yes, exactly.
As they come up and things go smoothly.
Yes, but I think it's very important to be honest with the band. Hey man, I can't make like Slipknot for sure, but I think we can make like some kind of different direction, which will be, I don't know, very good for your music, for your stuff, and say them at the beginning, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Even I had like I don't know, half year ago, the phone from a guy, can you make like, I want to record the drums for you for one songs? Okay. So can you make like alter bridge drums? Alter bridge drums, yes. But I need to tell you, I have only 2 hours in the studio.
Good luck.
Oh man, I can't do that. Why? We need more time. And even then, it won't be altered bridge because you are not altered bridge drummer. But for sure, not the same quality. But we can do something, you know, very nice at that time. No, sorry. I don't want to try to tell band that, okay, we will do it, yes? I think the honest stuff and make something for them. I think too much people looking for something, you know, copy from other bands. Instead of looking, you know, of course it's good like to refresh, I don't know, during the recording you create some guitar tone, it's good to refresh your ears. Because, I don't know, if you like change like 20 sounds, different sounds during half hour, you might be confused. So I might be confused. So usually I have like, I don't know, I can play like for 2 minutes, like different recordings just to refresh my ears. And then I come back to mine and I know what's going on. So be honest and try to suggest something for them.
Absolutely. You should definitely be upfront, I think, and set expectations. But when you're still going to be in, even if they say, I want Slipknot in 3 days, you say, look, I can't give you Slipknot in 3 days. You're not Slipknot, but I can do something. We can still do something awesome that would be great for you. And they say, okay, you're still going to have the problem of a band that wants to sound amazing in 3 days. And so you're still going to have to solve those problems. But I definitely think that it's important to set expectations up front. That's just a good skill to have in life, I think. It just makes for good relationships.
Yes, also, it's like if someone like to have same sound, like, for example, Slipknot, I say, you know what, even Slipknot don't have the same sound to each album, you know?
Yeah.
So if they want to catch the same sound from guitars or the drums or the mixing, from the different album is we not able, you know. We can like go, you know, with similar with levels, with the punch, you know, on that mix, but we cannot make like a copy. It's like it's not possible. It's like nonsense. It's not art, you know what I mean?
Even I don't want to make like a copy. Why?
You're right, though, that it's not even possible. Like, whenever bands say, we're going to make an album that's like our first one, it still never sounds like their first one because it's a moment in time. You can't recreate it.
It's really interesting because, especially in the beginning, everybody said, you know, use this mic for guitar because it's like basic or standard mic for the guitar. For example, like some dynamic mic. So Wojtek said, you know what? We're not using this mic. Why? Because this is a kind of, you know, standard all studio using. No, we're not using this mic because all of them music. So let's find a great sound from the different mic, from different side, and this will give you a unique sound. That's why we put on not a standard mic on the drums, not standard mics on guitars, and to have like something like unique. You know what I mean? That's
Absolutely.
the way.
It's even like in the past when the era of the digital stuff just became. I remember when we to make the first samples, like we prepare. It's right now. It's very hard to imagine. So we prepare the single samples for the floppy disk, for the Akai sampler, and we just like load, like I don't know, 25 minutes at the beginning of the session. And even we didn't power off for the whole session because you power off, so you need again to load like from the 20 diskettes, yes? And I think that's why of the reason we bought the D-drum and make that our sound to the D-drum because over here, nobody used the D-drum. And right now, we built like few years ago the nice sounding recording room, because I'm really tired of that only sampling stuff. And if I have opportunity to record something live, I really prefer to do that. I know that in almost every recording, people put the samples, yes, of course, but it's good to even to record, if I need to use the samples, I prefer to create something unique for that band and use it for them, only for them, and give something special, not like load, you know what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's why when we built our VST drums replacement and sampler, we're choosing many mics to capture the sampling of the sound of the drums. For example, our instrument has 3 selective mics. At once, we record many mics. We choose 3 of them, like a standard and not typical and very interesting, I would say, like this. So the guy who want to use our software, they will able to choose different mics from the beginning. That's really interesting, It's of course, we know exactly how the snare drum sounds brilliant. I mean, sounds really punchy in this particular way with SM57. But please try with different one. So see focus how's dynamic, how the sounds, how's became really different, instrument, So that's why our new product, which Wojtek mentioned, we just finished
the first product.
First, yes, in the 2.
Because we spent for
a lot of time, but it's almost done. I mean, I think in the
When's it coming out?
The demo is free demo will be.
We put for all people a free demo.
Okay.
I think during 3-4 weeks will be available.
I wanted to talk about the Kemper profiles too. You guys are working on some of those as well, correct? Tell me about that.
I think right now there is some kind of new generation of guitar players. It's I don't know if you agree with me, that even didn't touch the tube amp in the whole life. And I realized that if I invite them to the studio and I put on the tube amp, here, please, and I'm sure that it's good tone, they can't play it. They don't have the right tone from the hand. And I realized that sometimes it's very difficult then to play them in the studio. So I realized that if I make some kind of profiles, put some kind of, compressor or whatever, to make them similar how they used to play the whole day life, it's easier to play them.
Absolutely.
And I realized, if I will argue only on that tube amp, that I can't play very good, they can't use to it during 2 hours. It's take a time. If you are not play on the tube amp, I think it's take a time to use on it.
Absolutely.
So, because sometimes I realized the people send us the tracks for a mixing, and we have the direct signal, and I put 1 second, third amp, and man, it doesn't sound. I mean, somehow, and then when I use the Kemper stuff, and even on the second track, I use with the blend with the real amp, or add something, blend the signals, so it works.
I think that that's a very good point, that we do have a generation of guitar players who just learn differently. They grew up with a different technology, and what you play through affects how you play. And I think that that's just adapting to the time period that we live in. I think that's very clever, and I agree with you. The way that digital amps respond and amp sims respond is completely different than the way that tube amps respond. And if you've never played through a tube amp, then you're not going to just figure it out. Like, people who played tube amps get good at playing them through turning them up and playing them on stage and practicing with them loud and learning how to control the noise and the way that it moves the air in the room and not going to learn that in 2 hours sitting in the studio hearing things coming through studio monitors or headphones.
Yes, I even realized that they're confused and not feel comfortable. And then it's very difficult to make the smooth, nice session, because I think at the end they must feel comfortable. I mean, really. Otherwise, I think there is no sense to continue the session. So if they don't have the right monitoring system, they don't feel the right in the room. So I think they can't play the right. One of our main rules is, even when we make our courses, it's always you record, you mix, how you hear it. If you hear it nice, you will do your job better. If no, it's matter of luck, I think.
It's the right decision. And also because it's very interesting as making these camper profiles, because Wojtek, when he's doing like profiles, how is he taking the sound is really interesting, because, for example, he's putting like a riff and build up the sound from the amps, multiple amps, not one, not two, sometimes 3 or 4. And he's matching the sound with the riff. And also he's putting a lot of microphones in blend a lot, it's like painting the picture. He's captured 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 100 profiles. And the next day he's listening, he's choosing like half of them, he's going off, and half of them going like to next steps. And then after playing different riffs, and from these 15 riffs, he's taking off like 20. And from 30, the best profiles, he's putting into the music, into the drums. And he's listening how's the sound in the music, not alone like a guitar, And then he's like from this 30 profiles, he's taking like 20, and then he's invite the friends from different guitars and let them play how the sound of different guitar, different riffs with live musician, And then he's got 12.
Makes sense.
And I think checking on different guitars with different guitar players. I mean, that's the clue. I'm lucky because I have a lot of sources, clean guitars from different guys. I mean, with different guitars. Because I think still a lot of people forget about how important is the source. The player, the guitarist.
Oh, it's huge.
I mean, for me, it's a crucial one. I mean, you can't miss that stuff. So that's why I really try to compare on different, guitar players, and I have like selection few of them. If sounds pretty cool on those guys, I'm sure that will work,
Yeah, makes sense. I definitely think that is the way to approach getting profiles that definitely work for a lot of people, because one thing I've noticed is when making profiles, generally when, if you're recording an album with an amp and you profile it because you want to keep the tone, you try using that with somebody else, it usually doesn't work, because it was for that one guitar player with that one guitar, that one moment. So in order to make a profile that really works for a bunch of people, you do have to kind of test it and tweak it with a bunch of people. But Sławek and Wojtek, I want to thank you guys for coming on. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Pleasure was ours, man.
Yes.
Thank you for invitation, for conversation.
My pleasure.
Thank you very much.
All right, then. Another URM podcast episode in the bag. Please remember to share our episodes with your friends, as well as post them to your Facebook and Instagram or any social media you use. Please tag me at EYAL Levy URM Audio, at URM Academy, and of course, tag our guests as well. I mean, they really do appreciate it. In addition, do you have any questions for me about anything? Email them to me at eyal@urm.academy. That's EYAL @urm.academy, and use the subject line, Answer Me, EYAL. All right, then. Till next time, happy mixing.
You've been listening to the Unstoppable Recording Machine podcast. To ask us questions, make suggestions, and interact, visit urm.academy and press the podcast link today.